It is a dawn of a new era for Iran-India relations. Ebrahim Raisi took his oath as the 8th president of Iran, and in attendance at the ceremony was India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar. Remember, Jaishankar was one of the first foreign ministers to meet Raisi after he bagged the maximum number of votes during the presidential polls. This is the foreign minister's second visit to the country in a month, an indicator of the growing ties between New Delhi and Tehran. In a tweet, the foreign minister S. Jaishankar said, and I quote, "Raisi's commitment to strengthening our bilateral relationship was manifest, so too was the convergence in our regional interests." Raisi also said that the country will pursue a policy of developing relations with neighbouring countries, especially India, emphasising on the need for a joint programme to enhance relations. The new president said that the growing proximity was in the interest of both India and Iran, and he also stressed on the need for close cooperation between the two in maintaining peace and security in the region, especially in Afghanistan. For decades, India and Iran have enjoyed friendly relations. The two nations even shared a border till 1947. Besides geographic proximity, they have a lot in common. Tehran and New Delhi share history, cultural ties, bilateral trade, and economic linkages. But things haven't always been rosy. Although several factors account for this failure, the biggest is prevailing the hostility between the US and Iran. Throughout the Cold War era, Tehran and Washington were close allies, but the situation changed in the year 1979 with the Islamic Revolution. Since then, New Delhi has been walking a tight rope. Its principle of non-alignment has allowed it to maintain relations with Iran. For India, it is a crucial one, fueled by Tehran's supply of energy resources. But when America walked out of the nuclear deal, it swept its allies into a confrontation with Iran. India was one of them. It chose to side with the United States and stopped buying oil from Iran and put its investment in the Chabahar project into coal storage. Since then, India has lost two golden projects in Iran, the Farzad B and the Chabahar railway line. But the pandemic has ushered in a new era of relations. India helped deliver PPE kits and COVID relief to Iran. Iran also received a shipment of 150,000 doses of Covaxin, that is India's indigenously developed vaccine. The two countries have since been working closely on the Chabahar port, which has been the key pillar of connectivity between the two sides. The port provides connectivity to Afghanistan and Central Asia, and it will also be a part of the North-South international transport corridor that connects Mumbai with Moscow. With the new regime stepping in and hardliners set to rule the country, all India can hope for now is growing relations with Iran. We are now being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, for more on this story. Siddhant, let's start off by talking about the new era of India-Iran ties. What impact will this new hardline Iranian president have on the India-Iran relationship in the future?
Well, we saw that today's meeting which happened in Tehran. The Indian External Affairs Minister, of course, is in Iran for the oath-taking ceremony of the new president, which has already done. It took place on Thursday. But remember, this is his second visit to Iran in a matter of 1 month, and he was the first foreign minister to meet the new president-elect back then last month. It shows that how New Delhi is keen to invest on this relationship, and today that was reciprocated. We know the readout which has been released by the Iranian PMO, which talks about new hopes, new cooperation, and how both countries can cooperate at number of sectors, especially focusing on commerce, given the fact that how India has been in the past importing its energy needs, particularly oil from Iran. That, of course, was halted with the American sanctions under Trump administration coming into effect. But remember, there are two key pillars of this relationship. One, of course, connectivity through the Chabahar port, which we have seen doing well. In fact, India provided cranes for the Chabahar port earlier this year. Also, the focus is on energy. There can be an uptick of India importing the Iranian oil with, of course, the pressure from the Biden administration reducing. This is something that is being hoped, but largely both countries are also working and talking about Afghanistan. There was a specific mention of Afghanistan in the readout, talking about how both countries can engage. Remember, Iran has a border with Afghanistan, and both countries are in fact worried with increased presence or increased territorial gains by the Taliban.
Right, Siddhant, since you mentioned Afghanistan, that brings me to my next questions. Now, the developments in Afghanistan, the Iranian president said that India can play a constructive role in ensuring regional security in Afghanistan. What do you make of this statement?
Well, if we talk about Afghanistan, India is a long-standing partner of the Afghan government. For last 20 years, we know that India has been the largest donor for Afghanistan in the region, providing major infrastructure projects, whether it's the Afghan parliament, whether it's the India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam in Herat, where, of course, right now WION is present. And also, we know the capacity building project. When it comes to security, India has provided helicopters to Afghanistan, and this is something, in fact, the Taliban is very worried about. In fact, recently the Taliban spokesperson tweeted about it, saying that the Indian helicopters are being used. But we know that when it comes to defense engagement, both countries are engaging. In fact, recently the Afghan envoy here in Delhi, speaking to WION, talked about that as of now Afghanistan does not need any kind of military assistance from India, but if in case there is a need, then Kabul will look towards New Delhi. So when it comes to security engagement, there is an engagement between the two countries, a healthy engagement, and also diplomatically we know that how India is supporting Afghanistan. In fact, in few hours from now, 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, there will be, of course, this meeting under India's presidency at the United Nations Security Council. Also, remember, there is another important meeting. We know that recently there was an incident of a boat being struck by drones off the coast of Oman. Iran is being blamed. That meeting is also coming. This will be a closed-door consultation. So it will be a kind of a difficult balancing act between West and Iran for India under its presidency.
Right, Siddhant, thank you so much for all your inputs, and thank you for joining us. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.